Okay, so I just want to give you a very high level look at the course and talk about how you can take this course based on your skills. So, if you're an absolute beginner, then I would suggest starting at the very beginning and just taking it in a linear fashion. And I know it's a long course, it's a lot of hours, so don't feel like you have to finish it. If you need to skip around, that's fine. If you're more experienced, then you probably are going to skip around and go to the things you really have trouble with, and also the projects. If you want to just take the projects in this course, that's fine as well. There's different challenges, so you'll see that, for instance, let's see, we have a capitalized challenge here in the first section. We have a number challenge, some array challenges, object challenge, functions. So these are where I basically give you a markdown file with the challenge, and then you can pause the video, try it out, and then I give you the solution. Now, as far as links to like the GitHub repos and stuff, you can see right here there's a course links. It's not a video, it's just a document, and has all the repositories for the JavaScript sandbox, which is basically all the code in the course, shopping list app, the track calorie app, the Webpack branch, the random ideas full stack app, and the Flix app. And then there's a bunch of mini projects throughout the course as well. And then there's just some API docs and some other links to that you might need. All right, so the first five, so 1 through 5, are basically just fundamentals, how to use the console, variables and constants, data types. I do get into like primitive versus reference and how they're stored in memory. Some of the stuff may be a little overwhelming for beginners, but don't worry about it if you don't understand every single thing, especially the behind the scenes stuff. So arrays and objects with like destructuring and object literals, the spread operator, and then function scope and execution context. If you're a beginner and execution context is confusing to you, again, don't worry about that. I just wanted to include it because I want to give you a full picture of how JavaScript actually works. Then we have logic and control flow, loops, iteration. We get into high order array methods like filter, map, reduce. Have some challenges for that. And then in section 6 is where we start to get into DOM manipulation and working with UI elements, selecting them, traversing the DOM, inserting, replacing, removing elements, things like that. Ways to make a page dynamic. And then we have events, so we can listen for keyboard and mouse events, input events, form submissions. We talk about event bubbling and delegation. Then we have our shopping list project, which is a full CRUD app. We start off with just the DOM, and then we move to local storage after I give you a local storage crash course. Then we get into asynchronous JavaScript, including everything from callbacks to promises to the XHR object, callback hell. I even talk about how async.js works, including the event loop and the task queue, things like that. Fetch API with async await. A couple mini projects in here as well. We have try catch, error handling. Then we have our Flix movie project, movie app project, which we will create some custom pagination. We'll be using a movie database API, things like that. Web browser APIs, so these are all things that are included in the browser, like canvas, geolocation, request animation frame, things like that, audio and video API. And you'll see there's a bunch of little projects that we create here. Then we get into object-oriented code. We start off with constructors and prototypes, and then we'll move to classes. And we'll talk about static methods, bind, and getters and setters. We even talk about the ES22 private class field. So there's some really modern stuff in here as well. Then we get into our track calorie app, which is my favorite project in this course. And it's all object-oriented. We create like 4 or 5 different classes. And we'll do that starting off with everything in a single JavaScript file. But then we're going to learn about modules and tooling with Webpack and different plugins. And we're going to refactor that track calorie project to Webpack. And then finally, we'll deploy it to Netlify. Then we get into some more advanced stuff like iterators and generators, some built-in data structures like sets and maps. We have a little poll project. Then we're going to get into some custom data structures like stacks, queues, and linked lists, where we actually create a class to create these data structures. Then we get into algorithms, and not only that, we're going to learn how to write unit tests to test these algorithms. So we're going to be using Jest along with JSDOM, which is a package that we can use to basically create mock DOM elements, which is really cool. Then we actually get into Node.js. So this stuff is kind of bonus. Node.js modules, and then our full stack application where we create a full backend API with Express and MongoDB, and then we create a front end using Webpack, creating UI components, basically creating the front end in a way that we would if we were using a framework, except we're not. We're using just, vanilla JavaScript with ES modules. Okay, and then let's see, we have some of the projects here, like this is the shopping list. So we can add, we can actually edit. If I click on this, so I could change that to something, click update. I don't know why I said tease, but then we can delete, we can filter, etc. So that's basically the first larger project. Then we're going to build this Flix movie project. And by the way, in each project section, I'll give you a full demo. I'm just going through them real quick right now. So we use a library called Swiper for this effect. And we can click on this, takes us to a details page. We even get the backdrop. There's a ton of stuff we get from this API. It's, I believe it's the movie database API. And we can search for movies and TV shows. And if we do, and there's a ton of results, we're actually going to implement pagination. So we can click through, and this is all vanilla JavaScript. So we don't have the help of like React Router DOM or anything like that. Then this is the calorie tracking project where you can set a goal or a daily limit, so 1,800, and then you add your meals, which will add to your calories, but you can also add workouts that will remove from the calories. And we have a little progress bar. We're using Bootstrap 5 here with a couple JavaScript modules. So I really like that project. Random ideas, this is the full stack project, so this stuff is actually coming from a backend API. We're going to deploy it to render.com. You can see this is the deployed version, and basically you can just add an idea with a tag, and that will get added to your database. So it's basically a full stack CRUD API and front end. And then let's see, these are just the repositories. Again, I have all those links in that document that I showed you. So, I mean, that's all I can think of for now. So, again, this is a long course. There's a lot to it. So if you do need to skip around, that's fine. If you want to take it from beginning to end, that's fine as well. So hope you enjoy it, and let's move on.